Line's good.
Never on.
Whoa.
Hard. Hardly.
Come on, Brent. Line's good. Got real close.
The hair high, right?
Try and hit 2/3.
Have they saved it for her? Yes, they have.
Welcome to Game of Stones, everybody. I am Sean Graham. Scott alongside, as always. Hello, Scott.
Sean, good evening. Good evening. Yeah, it's 4:30 and it's pretty dark.
Yeah, so it's the evening times.
Yeah, it's the earliest we've recorded in a while, but
Indeed.
we had some plans that fell through and thought, hey, let's just record a podcast instead.
Well, we had the time. We each knew that didn't have other plans.
That's right.
So
we were pre-booked. So
indeed.
Yeah, no, good idea. And excited to be here.
Yes. So it is the end of 2024. Scott, where has the year gone?
Well, time is just a construct. So really, it hasn't gone anywhere. It's happened all at the same time as we're doing this. Everything happens at the same time.
Okay. Well, there you go. How about that? Deep thoughts here for our end of the year podcast. This is going to be the last, or not the last new one of 2024, but this will be the last time maybe we look back at 2024. Scott, it is time for the 4th annual Stoney Awards.
All right. Yeah, can't wait. Love the Stonies. Everybody gets dressed up. Everyone asks, who are you wearing? What's going on? So yeah, great event. And I think we got some good awards to give out tonight.
Yeah, I think so as well. And Scott, as is normal, I think we have 10 categories. I have pulled some categories from past years. There's been some change, so it's not the same 10 categories each and every year. But we have 10 categories this year, and I'm looking forward to looking back on what was a pretty eventful year in the world of curling.
Yeah, it definitely was an eventful year. And, that big gap in the summer, we sometimes forget about things that happened in the spring or last winter. So it'll be fun to reflect a bit on all of the things that have gone on.
Indeed. So, Scott, let us go through, as I said, 10 categories. They go in order from least prestigious to most prestigious.
Yeah.
Let's say.
Just like all those big award shows, they always start with the loser awards nobody cares about. I think they do best actor or something first at the Oscars, but whatever,
Yeah, I thought they did something like supporting actors, those
maybe those
categories.
First, yeah,
I think.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, well, all right. Well, he just threw shade at all of the supporting actors out there.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. So the first category for us is the biggest oddity of the year. Scott, this is a personal one for me. It is the loose broom heads that Asham keeps sending me. So I have an Asham broom and have had one for a long time. And it's a head that rotates. Pretty much all brooms now, I think, have rotating heads on them. And these ones keep getting loose to the point where if I hold the broom straight out, the head will just kind of flop over, like gravity takes over. It doesn't hold steady the way it should. This first happened to me in 2017 or 2018, and I took the broom head to Joe at Hogline Curling Supplies when it was still at the Ottawa Curling Club, and he gave me a new one and said, "Oh no, don't worry about it. This has been recalled. The item has or is known to have issues, so it's been recalled." And that one subsequently had issues with it, got all floppy, sent that one in, got another one, also very floppy. In the interim, I had one that broke. I don't know if you remember this, Scott. You were on the ice with me. I was skipping at the time, and I tapped a stone, just I think very gently to indicate I wanted it removed. And I just tapped it, and it just disintegrated right there. And I gotta say, I like Asham stuff. I wear Asham shoes. I have gold line pants. I have a pair of gold line gloves. I have a pair of Asham gloves. I'm not necessarily super brand loyal, but this keeps happening, and it is really annoying.
Yeah, it might be time for a new broom then, bud. Like,
I think so.
I mean, that's a long time to have a broom. Really, like that's 7 years with just the problems, and you've probably had the broom longer than that. So
yeah,
I think there's lots of great options out there for you. There's probably a lot of lighter options available, and I hate to say this, Sean, but you're not really getting any younger. So you might be able to use your power a little bit more with the lighter broom.
Interesting. That's so you think I'd be a more effective sweeper?
You might be. I mean, I don't know. You're a pretty effective sweeper now, so
try to be.
That's interesting. I've never used any Asham products, not for any dislike for the brand, but just haven't had the opportunity.
Right.
So, I don't know.
All right. Well, that is the biggest oddity of the year for me.
Definitely the least prestigious award.
Yes, and one that nobody wants. We couldn't think of anything else super weird in the sport this year, and maybe that's just because our barometer of weirdness has changed based on what has happened over the past few years.
Yeah, that's a good point. The barometer is definitely different. So if anybody can think of anything else, please let us know. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's going on Twitter anymore, right? Because I don't go on Twitter anymore. So maybe there's some interesting stuff happening on Twitter. We did mention in our show about the fans booing Brad Jacobs. That could be an oddity, but
a little bit.
I think we go with your weird broom.
Okay. So that is the oddity of the year. Scott, what is up next?
Next up, Sean, is the biggest story of the year. Lots of rich storylines happen every year in the world of curling, and we break them down to find what was the biggest story. And in our opinion, this year, the biggest story was the change of ownership with the Grand Slam series, going from Sportsnet to the Curling Group.
Yeah, so this is the group led by Nick Sulsky. They purchased the Grand Slams from Rogers, who owned it previously. And this was a big deal when it happened after the Grand Slams. I think it was after the Grand Slam season last year. And there was a lot of talk about what are they going to do to the Slams? How are they going to change it? There was interviews with Nick Sulsky saying that he wants to attract a younger demographic and kind of make it a more party atmosphere. That has been accomplished in terms of the in-person experience. Last night I watched on YouTube the highlights of the Grand Slam of Karaoke from the event in St. John's. Place was full. Rachel Holman comes out and does No Diggity with two guys from the Schuster team. Holman got the belt for it, is now your defending champion, and then 10 hours later went out and won the event. So good honor for doing it. So they've put in things around the events to change them and seemingly make them better. We have not been to a slam since the change. They have yet to do anything to the on ice product. It's still the same formats. The qualification is still the same. So they've done stuff around the outside, everything that surrounds the event. I think our criticisms of the slams have been focused on the on ice experience, and that's because we don't have slams come to Ottawa. So we're not going to slams all the time. But there is still, to me, the issue that you have to make the on ice product matter, that what distinguishes one from the next to the next. Why is the Players' Championship for the players, they all say it's the best one to win, it's the most important one to win. As somebody who's an observer from the outside, I can't really tell what the difference is between that and the other ones.
Yeah.
So I think that's the next step. As we talked about last week, hadn't been confirmed last week when we talked. It has now been confirmed. The event in Guelph in January will have the change of hammer if there are 2 blanks in a row. That rule will be in effect in January. So that's one thing. I think another thing they could do to reduce blank ends is make the houses less lively. You could try that. Like right now, if you blink at a rock, it feels like it flies out of the back. So you could mess around a little bit with the ice conditions, slow it down a bit, make the striking pass bigger. Like there are things you can do to increase the number of rocks in play, especially given how hard so many of these players can throw. But all that being said, the focus initially has been on the event experience for the fans and creating more access to the game. So we've seen that through the app, streaming all the games, even streaming when Sportsnet is on. You can still watch the games through the app. So some big changes that are being done, and we'll certainly keep monitoring it as it goes. But to this point, feels like a success.
Yeah, I think it does feel like a success. I was going to mention, the access to the games is the real thing that is making the difference, in my opinion. It's that we're able to watch the games on Tuesdays. It's something we complained about for a long time. Not even remembering that the Grand Slams were on, and then you tune in Thursday and you're like, oh, it's already decided. Like,
right.
What happened? I don't know. I can never find out. And like, if there's these, when we do these awards, right, we think about all the games that happened during the year, about all the shots, like what were the biggest ones that we saw highlights of.
Yeah,
they might have been Tuesdays at the Slam, but nobody knew. Right. So, yeah, that's been a big improvement, and it seems like the atmosphere around has been good. It's at the very least been better for social media marketing, right? Because they can drop clips of, the curlers doing the karaoke. They can drop clips of media interviews that they've had with, John Cullen taking out Rachel Homan and Brendan Botcher, or like doing different things around the events. So in that sense, it is marketing to a younger demo who are mostly online, mostly at, using their phones to see content rather than watching TV.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is the way of the world now. Things are shifting in that direction. So that's where the focus has been, and they've done, as we said, done a very good job of it. So that is the biggest story of the year. Next up is the biggest upset of the year. And upset, I'm saying, I was going to go with an individual game, and we still could, but overall, I'm going to say it's Norway winning the World Wheelchair Curling Championship. That's Jostein Stordal, and his team out of Norway. They win, and I think the biggest upset in terms of a game of the year is their win over China and Heichao Wang in the semifinal. Scott, we talked last year in the bold predictions episode that China would not win the World Wheelchair Curling Championship. And that is a bold prediction because that's all they do, this team. They just go to the World Championships and win. They finished first place. It was a 4-way tie at 8-3 in the round robin. They finished in first because of their record against those other teams, including a win against Canada and Mark Idison. And then in the semifinal with the big upset, and it's a steal of 2 in the 7th end that clinches it. They play 8 end games at the World Wheelchair Curling Championship. That was your clincher there. And then Team Norway goes on to beat Canada and Mark Idison in the final 6-2. So, Scott, I think that is our biggest upset of the year. Again, not as a slight or anything to Jostein Stordal or anything like that, but not the best record at various events. He won the silver medal at the Pyeongchang Paralympic Games in 2018, but that was his only other international medal to this point. He has appeared at the Sailing World Championships a bunch of times as well. So he's a two-sport athlete, but I don't think going into that event, anyone would have said, oh, Norway is, you're looking at them as a big threat to land on the medal table. So congratulations to them, and a stunner of sorts to not have Team Wang win the World Wheelchair Curling Championship. They had won in 2019, 21, and 23.
Yeah, and I believe the reason they didn't win in 2020 was COVID. So
Yeah,
I don't think they were allowed to come.
right.
But yeah, like pretty huge upset. Stortal, Sean, like he has been around the wheelchair game for a while. He won a gold medal in 2017 as the third on the team, but yeah, hadn't been medaling in the meantime, and to have this Chinese dominance really for like 4 or 5 straight years. They were the team that you'd see at the top of the podium for all the events, and so having them come as the 5th ranked team, they had to play the qualification game and then get into the semifinal to knock them out there. Yeah, huge win for Norway, and something we weren't expecting when you'd start the week.
Yeah, and I think looking ahead now, and a little more than a year and a bit, like 13, 14 months, whatever it is, the Paralympic Games in 2026, I think just makes that more interesting to, all right, now China's been knocked off as kind of the prohibitive favorite. See what happens this year at the World Championship. But do you have a situation where maybe this team, Mark Idison, they're always going to be strong? Sweden was in the mix at this event. There's some really good teams in the wheelchair side. Interestingly, too, the United States got relegated in this. They beat Scotland in terms of the standings, but I believe Scotland's hosting next year. So the United States has been relegated. So when you're looking at the Paralympic Games, can the United States get into those games? That'll be a very interesting turn, because they've had some good teams in the past as well. So that Paralympic field, just by having this result, to me, just increases the intrigue as we look forward to that.
Yeah, that'll be very interesting come the Paralympics time.
All right, Scott. Our next category is the departure of the year. And I don't know if there's much consideration elsewhere, but who do we have as our biggest departure of the year?
Well, Sean, there can only be one. There's the greatest curler of all time, according to a lot of people, and I guess according to me, having just said it, is Jennifer Jones. Jennifer Jones stepping away from her team. Her team, of course, has continued to play with Chelsea Carey stepping in as the skip. But having Jennifer Jones not playing the 4-person game anymore, it's definitely a void. But she's been on TV a lot, so we don't really miss her, right?
Yeah, and she's going to be in the mixed doubles Olympic qualifier in a couple weeks. So it's not a full-on retirement. It's stepping away from the women's game. I think it's almost even more for me, Scott, that Jennifer Jones is not going to be playing in a Scotties again.
Yeah, that's true. Like, she's such a mainstay at that event, has been for about 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
It will be weird to have, a Manitoba team that doesn't have Jennifer Jones on it, or a Team Canada, or a wild card. Mm-hmm. It'll be strange.
Yeah. So a great career, absolutely, at the Scotties, and we'll see if she can make it to another Olympics in the mixed doubles. And as you say, she's been on TV a bunch. I would not be surprised if she actually turns up at the Scotties on a bench somewhere. She was on the bench for Rachel Holman for a game or two in St. John's. There's some young teams who could certainly benefit from Jennifer Jones being on a bench. So I wouldn't be stunned if she's there and pulling coaching duty for somebody.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise us. But if she's got the opportunity to do TV, I bet that's what she does.
But she won't.
rather than coach.
She works for Rogers now.
Yeah, I mean, instead of coaching, be on the call instead of coaching. I think that's
But
a better fit.
how would she be on the call? She's under contract to the other these companies hate each other. Let's not forget that Bell and Rogers hate each other. They're not going to let one of their employees go do games on TSN.
Yeah. No, I was thinking at the slam, how you said she was behind the bench.
Yeah.
Like, she wouldn't have done that if it was her day to get behind the mic,
Right.
Yeah.
One of the benefits of Rogers not liking the events enough to show all the draws because they're broadcasters' time. But yeah, so a major departure there for the women's game, that Jennifer Jones is no more in the 4-person women's game. All right. Our moment of the year is our next category. And Scott, we're going somewhat close to home for this one. We are sticking with the curling podcast community because there were some major moments for the curling podcast community this year. We are talking about Jonathan Havercroft, the professor of Peel, playing in the Euro A's for Team England, and Mary and Lori from Two Girls in a Game making it to the Canadian Senior Final just last week, or about a week and a half ago now. Those are our moments of the year. Those were very cool to see. The curling podcast community is not the biggest.
Mm-hmm.
So to have people from 2 different shows get to major events, playing in them, it was very cool to see. And I very much enjoyed it. So I think that is maybe selfishly or sort of the close to home best moment of the year.
Yeah, I think that's a good moment, like a good call for us, given that it's important to us, and you know what, this is our show, so we can make it whatever we want. But you're right, the curling podcast community is not that big, and it's important to show support for each other and to the other shows. Not every show, but to most of them. But this was really cool to be able to see people that we know and have interacted with, living their dreams.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, especially given what happened over the course of the summer with Mary and Lori, to see them out there at the national level playing in those games, that was great to see, and certainly send them nothing but positive vibes. Wish them all the best. I mean, the negative offshoot of these 2 things is that neither of them have put out an episode in a while because they've been focusing on the ice stuff. So that's been a bit of a downer, but totally understandable that the focus has been elsewhere. So that was really cool to see. The other thing that we had in the category was the first ever club championship, the North America Challenge, or whatever it was called, sponsored by Everest. That was really cool. It was the compilation show that was put together by CBS was not good, but the event was pretty cool. When they did it live, it's a good idea. Matt Hamilton and Jennifer Jones were there. The teams could call them out for timeouts with the live mics. So it's a really cool idea. Give people at the club level something to really push for, to strive for. I really do like the national club level championships that they exist. So this is just an extension of that. Good on Everest for putting up the money for it. It's a bummer that Everest exists to remind us that we're all going to die someday, but it's a companies like that are necessary to deal with end of life. So good on you, Everest. And I don't know. I just like that exists, and a little made for TV event. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think you're right. I like that it exists, and hopefully it will grow over time.
Yes, indeed. All right. That is the halfway point of the award show, the Stoney Award. Scott, this is where a lot of award shows would have a big musical interlude. So take it away.
Well, I've been listening to a lot of music, but I think, Sean, this is an apt fifth end break, and we should have some orange slices.
Yes, and maybe some almonds.
Oh yeah, gotta have some almonds.
Yeah.
I like peanuts myself. I got some salted peanuts from Costco, so
nice.
That's my snack of choice.
Yes. Well, did you buy them before the GST break on Saturday the 14th? Because now that they're snacks, and I can get them without tax.
Damn it. No, I didn't.
There you go.
I forgot.
Actually, so we have a family coming in for the holidays, Scott. I have to buy some provisions for that. I have intentionally held off on buying beer until the tax holiday because given the amount of beer we tend to go through when everyone is together, I feel like that will actually amount to a significant savings.
Yeah, good call on that, Sean. Good call. I'm just looking at a receipt. I went and got some groceries today, and yeah, no tax. Look out.
There you go. Good stuff. And same thing at the clubs here over the next few weeks. The bar should be a little cheaper, although there's one particular establishment in this city where I would expect the proprietor of said establishment to just keep the prices the same and pocket the difference. But I've been told on good authority that that's not illegal to do. So there you go.
Yeah, it's not illegal to do.
Yeah. All right. So we are back from our interlude. 5 awards left here at the 2024 Stoney Awards. Scott, next up is the biggest theme of the year.
Sean, this is a theme that you keyed in on pretty early this fall as to what the theme of the season might be. And it's in-season lineup changes. This, of course, we saw, Kevin Cooey fire Jacques Gauthier. We've seen EJ Harnden leave, followed by BJ Neufeld leaving. Is there anything? There's probably others that I'm missing.
Well, Slachinski going to Cooey breaks up that team. Kyle
right.
Daring is an offshoot then of the movement there. So it's kind of some musical chairs across the country.
Yeah. So like you noted it as like, hey, is this a thing that's going to become something? And I was sort of like, no. Everybody's smart enough to not do that. And here we are. It's their theme for the season.
Yeah. And the thing that I've really noticed, or it's occurred to me, the more that I've thought about this over the last week since we chatted in some detail last week, the teams that I'm going to preface this by saying I am not nearly as good as any of the people on TV. All right. Let's just say that. But we had a spare last week in our Monday game. I spared in a game on Thursday. I had the bye on Thursday. And I really noticed that the two teams I've been playing on, I think both are actually in their third season together in this configuration. Might be the fourth on their Thursday team, but whatever. And on the Monday team, Steph, who we play with, I've played with for years before this configuration as well. So, and then to have a spare with us on Monday and then to go spare somewhere else on Thursday, I really felt that the continuity that had been developed over the past few years really helped the game, or at least my game, in terms of certainly calling weight, having a sense of how everybody throws it, when they release it, what their rotation is. That takes time. And then the skip, putting the broom down in the right spot, that level of continuity takes time to build and to grow. How people like to communicate with each other, that takes time as well. So when you're making these changes in season, very difficult to get those reps in the games. And when you're making lineup changes and the people don't live near each other, you're not necessarily getting the reps in on practice either. So it's not just the case of like, I want the games just to be the games, and that's what we talk about in the season. But also I wonder how this is going to affect continuity if this does become a main theme and this happens repeatedly now moving forward, that the proverbial ice has been broken and this just is part of the sport now. Does that affect continuity, and does it potentially lead to worse games?
Yeah, we'll have to see how these games shake out, in the next couple months as the teams sort of get used to each other. I think the difference is that these players all know each other and have been playing around and with each other for so many years that, even when you're playing against somebody, you tend to know how they throw it. You notice like, okay, this team needs more ice than another team, those kind of things. But also at the high levels, people throw it like mostly the same now.
Yeah.
It's not as pronounced a difference as it used to be. Even when Joanne Courtney came and joined Team Holman, right? How Team Holman threw it so straight with their inside out release, that took a lot of getting used to. But I think it's a lot more, how do I say, like standardized across the board nowadays how people throw it. But we'll see. I know, like you said, for us, it is helpful to have played so many games together, just getting to know each other and how we all throw it, and makes it easier for me to put the broom down. But yeah, well, these guys are all pros, and I would expect them to be able to work that out. But no, I think it's a fun experiment to run and see how things go the next month or two.
All right, so 4 awards left. These are the Prestige Awards, Scott. I believe these are the 4 that have always been around that we haven't messed with. So the 4 Prestige Awards left. We're going to start this grouping with the non-skip player of the year. Typically a player of the year. This is kind of like the MVP in football, where it's really the 32 quarterbacks who are competing for it, and everybody else can, like, pound sand. The same thing. The player of the year in curling is probably always going to be a skip. So we go with the non-skip player of the year. I'm giving it this year to Rasmus Rana because he won 2 world championships. Of course, Nicholas Edin and that team won the men's, and Rasmus Rana, along with Isabella Rana, won the mixed doubles curling championship. They beat Estonia in the final. So 2 more trophies on his, shelf this year for Rasmus Rana.
Yeah, Sean, pretty hard to argue with this. We always talk about thirds being the most important players on the ice because they're the conduit between the back end and the front end. But Rasmus Rana winning 2 world championships, I don't think anybody else did that. So there you go. He also was the high shooter at the male position for the tournament for the mixed doubles, and I believe was an all-star at the men's worlds as well. So just like really high level of play, always up there when it comes to shot making. And yeah, he was the highest percentage second in the event. So pretty good year is saying it mildly.
Yes. Player of the year is Rachel Holman, but yeah, non-skip player of the year is going to be Rasmus Rana. All right, Scott, one of my favorites, game of the year. What do you like here?
Yeah, there were some good contenders for this, but ultimately we went with the Homan Gim World Championship semifinal game, which saw a lot of back and forth. Rachel Holman's team had been pretty much unstoppable that whole week, and then came down to this, and it was really back and forth. Team Gim cracked a 3 in the third end, and then they swapped singles back and forth. A lot of really tight play, great shots being made on either side. And Rachel Holman pulled it out in the last end with a 3 spot to take a 2-point win. But a lot of back and forth, and Team Canada in this game shot 91% in total. So like really good on the Korean team for keeping it so close when a team who is having the week that that Canada had and playing the way they did was able to keep it close.
Yeah, I remember watching this game and with just bated breath, like Kim Eun-ji just kept making shots. Like we did the episode where we thought percentages were inflated. I think theirs was deflated in this game because she just kept making everything. She had a couple offers that really hurt, especially in that 10th end, but just played so good. It was kind of like two boxers in the middle of the ring, just throwing haymakers back and forth at each other. Both teams for the middle of the game were making everything. The singles were hard singles to make, and it was just an incredible game. I was supposed to go out with my friend Ashley of Where's Ashley fame, and about a block and a half, 2 blocks or so, maybe from my house, there's a Starbucks, and she texted me. She says, "Hey, I'm going to be early. Like, we're supposed to go out later." She's like, "Hey, I'm about an hour early. I can meet early." And I said, "Well, you can come over and watch this game if you want, or find something else to do, because I am not leaving this game." It was about the 4th or 5th end at that point. And I was so happy because she kept texting me. She's like, "Oh, I'm just sitting at Starbucks, like reading, like, let me know when you're done." And about every 15 minutes, she was like, "Now?" Like, "Nope." No, like, "Come over. This is incredible theater. Like, you can come watch this." But it was just, and then finally it ended. She comes and we're on a route to wherever we went. And she's so, and I'm just raving about how great this game was. And you could tell she not only didn't care, but had no idea what I was talking about. But that was, it was an incredible afternoon of curling, and certainly the one for me that, game of the year without question.
Yeah, when there's certain games that stick out, when you're looking back on either the season or the calendar year. And this is definitely one of them. So, and the most exciting. So good call on that, Sean.
All right. Next up is the shot of the year. And this is actually going to be kind of cheating, kind of 2 shots. Well, 1 shot, but the second shot is made even better because of what the first shot was in the situation. It is going to be Mike McEwen's 3rd end in the semifinal of the Brier. He makes a tap 4-3 around a center guard, pushes out a botcher stone that was pretty much on the button, taps it all the way out of play for his 3. What makes it even more incredible, though, is that he makes a 20-foot run double on his first one.
Mm-hmm.
So he plays the big upweight double shot. Botcher comes around, and then McEwen makes the hack weight tap for the 3. Goes bananas when he makes this shot. Colton Lott lets out the big yell. The crowd's going crazy because it was in Regina. Like, that moment when it happened, I actually thought maybe Saskatchewan can actually break the 40 years here, or almost 50 years now, that they might actually do this, because Mike was having a great week. The guys in front of him were having a great week. I think earlier, even in that end, I think it was Kevin Marsh makes a run double to set everything up. And it just an absolute incredible week for them. But that 3rd end, I've been in that arena when a team Saskatchewan is going well. And I mean, whatever, there's 8 to 10,000 people in there. It gets loud. And Mike McEwen had them in the palm of his hand, and he was making great shots. So not only were those 2 shots back to back very good, and both of them were incredibly precise, but the situation, the crowd reaction, the atmosphere, all of it put together, to me, makes it the shot of the year.
Yeah, that's I watched these just before we got on, Sean, and that place got real loud real fast. And I think you said Colton Lott, but you meant Colton Flash, and they were just pumped up, ready to go. Mike McEwen was like down at the house, like cheering. He didn't stop halfway down or anything, He was like right in it, screaming at the boys to get that little tap. And the shot before, holy cow, what a great shot. I will maybe give some shout out to Rachel Holman making that 3, that split for 3 that she made in the World Championships as one of the shots of the year. But these ones were sort of like pure emotion, and it really set the stage for the way the rest of that game went. And it was playing Brendan Botcher. They didn't really have much of a chance after that. The sort of arena was with him. He had the good juices flowing, everything pumping good. So good choice on shot of the year. Now, what's the final award, Sean?
Well, the final award is, of course, the most prestigious award of the season, and it goes to the team of the year, the team that had the best calendar year. Of course, in curling, it's hard to give away a prize or really, I guess, for all of these, but team is even harder, I think, because the season break, that the best team of last season might not have had a good start to this season, and it's kind of hard. Like, what do we count? What do we don't count? Like all of that.
Teams can break up.
Teams can change. Yeah. So fortunately for us this year, there's a clear winner and everybody else is playing for second place. And I think, honestly, Scott, a distant second place. The team of the year is Team Homan. They won the Scotties. They won the World Championship. They've won 2 of the slams. They were in the final of the other slam. This season, they've lost 2 games on tour as of the time that we're recording this. Last year, they lost 6 games over the course of the whole season. They are just on another level, on another planet. Like, they're not playing the same sport as everybody else at this point. They're just so good. And I think that's almost what made that game that we just talked about with Team Gim so much fun, is that it was unexpected. That, and it's nothing against Team Gim, it's that Homan was just going so well that to have this kind of heavyweight bout where they're just lobbing haymakers at each other, that was part of what made that game so fun. And they've carried it over into this season. I think it was scary for everybody else on tour during the points bet when I think it was Vic said that he was talking to Rachel and he said, "How was your off season?" And she said it was too long. Yeah. I mean, that means she was really excited to get back out there, geared up. Vic did mention that the front end said Sarah and Emma were like, well, probably could have used a couple more weeks just to rest up. But Rachel was raring to go. And when Rachel Homan has that look in her eyes, it's got to be a very, very helpless feeling to be on the other side of that. So I think it's clear and easy that it's the 2024 was the year of Team Homan.
Yeah. You said it all, Sean. This team is not losing. They're really good at what they do. They've sort of developed their team chemistry. When Tracy Fleury came in, Rachel was sweeping for a bit and they figured like, no, you know what? She's the best in the world at being a skip. Let's let her be the skip. Kudos to Tracy for, stepping up and becoming a good sweeper, becoming a good teammate, the communication.
I think she was a good teammate before, but
but becoming like that sort of conduit, like we talk about the third position being so important. Kudos to Emma Miskew for not, wanting to say, no, I'm a third, and, really put the team first, and go down to that second position, become the sweeper that she's become. They're head and shoulders above everybody else. This was the easiest award to
it really was
this year. So big congratulations to Team Homan. I'm sure they will be very thrilled to learn that they have won the most prestigious Stoney Award for 2024.
That's right. You can put all the banners up you want in the Ottawa Curling Club. This one should really get center stage. We should talk to Delisle next time we're there. Yeah.
We put it on the Wall of Fame.
Yeah, we actually probably could do that. So those are our 10 awards this year. We did also want to note the passing of sports writer in Winnipeg, Ted Wyman. He wrote a lot about the Blue Bombers and the Jets. He might be more associated with those two professional sports in Winnipeg, but he wrote a lot about curling and he was at a lot of curling events. He passed away back in November after a battle with cancer. He was only 58 years old. So certainly very sad news when we saw that. But Scott, I think we've crossed paths with him a couple times at the events that we were at. Wouldn't necessarily claim to know him or be friends with him, but certainly a strong voice in the curling community. A lot of stories that we have referenced on this show were Ted Wyman stories, and again at 58, just far too young, and very, very sad news when we saw that back in November. So certainly wanted to note that as part of the year that we talked about all these great things that happened in the sport, but this is something that was obviously very sad and a tragedy that should be noted when we're looking back on everything that was important in 2024 in the world of curling.
Yeah, Sean, absolutely. Ted, big voice in the room for curling, always part of the media events, the like media versus curlers games or those kinds of things. So yeah, he'll be sorely missed around the rinks going forward, and we'll keep him in our thoughts every time we step behind the media bench. We'll think about Ted and the work he did there.
Absolutely. Very well said. So with that will wrap up our look back on 2024. Of course, a lot more to come in the sport in 2025. And if you want to keep up with all that, please do subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, like, rate, comment, all that good stuff. Helps other people find the show and keeps us growing. You can head on over to GameOfStonesPod.com. All of our past episodes are there, plus a link to the merch. We're on the socials at Game of Stones Pod, Game of Stones Podcast on Facebook. And if you want to let us know what you want to hear on the show, Game of Stones Podcast at gmail.com. We will have one new episode next week, our Christmas special, which is going to be the mixed doubles, Canadian mixed doubles Olympic qualifier preview. So that'll be out in and around Christmas. So you can listen to that. And then we'll have a best of 2024 over New Year's. And then we'll be back at you in the new year with other new material. So that is going to be the schedule over the holidays. No plan to really take a break. We might take a break on actually recording things, but stuff will be coming out in its regular place, middle of the week-ish over the holidays. So that is going to be it for, or how we're going to set up the next couple of weeks. Scott, are you excited? Are you taking any sort of time? Are you going to take a break? Or what is your most treasured and cherished tradition or thing to do at this time of year?
So my most cherished, Sean, is very hard to say, but no, I'm not taking a break. I like holding down the fort at the office while my team are all able to get away and spend time with their families. We'll spend time with our family, but at night. So no, I'm doing that. We did, however, start watching some Christmas movies. I guess we watched Harry Potter last night. That is not really a Christmas movie, but there's some Christmas in it. They have Christmas. And
there's Christmas in Mean Girls too.
Yeah, best Christmas movie. But I think we might watch, speaking of Mean Girls, the new Lindsay Lohan crappy Netflix Christmas movie is out. That could be fun. Could watch any one of a number of family favorite Christmas movies. You've got Home Alone, you got Elf, you got Home Alone 2, all the classics.
All the classic ones, yeah.
We like to watch the old ones too, White Christmas and maybe Meet Me in St. Louis. Haven't watched that one in a couple of years, so
yeah. I like watching all the TV shows too that have Christmas episodes, like sitcoms with Christmas episodes. So I've been watching a couple of those. I watched a Frasier last night where he meets a Jewish woman, or the mother of a Jewish woman, who sets him up, and then the whole thing is they're pretending to be Jewish for a big long scene in the apartment. So that was kind of fun. But I do like watching that. And this year, for the first time, I've been going through and watching cinema sins of all these Christmas movies as they just crap all over these great Christmas movies that I have always loved. So that's been a lot of fun as well. And then there's some food stuff as well that I'm very much looking forward to over the next couple of weeks. So Squares is being the top of that list.
Yeah, I've got our turkey ordered as well, so
nice.
That should be fun. And I just found out my cholesterol is a little high, so I'm gonna try to work on that. It's tough over the holiday season, we'll get it dealt with.
Yeah, as Marie Barone said in one of my favorite Thanksgiving episode of Everybody Loves Raymond, it's a little high. you worry about it when I'm in the danger zone. I'll worry about it.
Exactly.
Classic episode. Well, I think one of my favorite Everybody Loved Raymond episodes is there. So whatever you do this time of year, hopefully you are doing it with people you love and having a good time and staying safe out there as well with all the weather. And at this time of year, people can imbibe a little bit more. So please make sure whatever you're doing it safely and responsibly, and hopefully enjoying a little curling along the way. So as I said, we'll be back with you next week to preview the Canadian Olympic mixed doubles curling qualifier. But until then, keep those brooms on the ice and don't dump that insert.
Make the final.